You have only to think in your mind, I have no more relationship with this man. It's cut. So one Abhyashi said, is it that powerful? He said, yes, your thought power is the greatest thing, greatest power in this world, in this universe. So never think a wrong thought about your master. Never think you don't want him. Because if ever you think in your mind, I don't want this guy, you will not have him. And even though he may be in your presence, you will never be able to find him again. Oh, so many people, have said, oh, but I can do without this old man. So I have cautioned them, don't say such a thing with your heart. Now you are saying it foolishly, stupidly. It has no effect. Because your will is not behind it. But with your will, when you say it, should I try? I said, at your peril. Totally at your peril. In India, there have been many movies in the old days, 40 years ago, about a fair, about a husband and wife walking with their child, the child getting separated. In those days, we had no police outposts and loudspeakers. Munna ka Pitaji ka, wherever he may be, please come and collect him, he is here. And the child was irretrievably lost. So this situation is very much like that. You lose him, you are in a fair, which is this mad world. And where will you go to look at him? You go to Shahjahanpur, there is no more Shahjahanpur. You go to the ashram, there is no more ashram. At least in your vision, it will not appear. You may look and look. I read a story about Narada and how he became egotistic. He heard the wailing of somebody and he descended on earth and found a very pretty young lady weeping. And there were two very old people lying on the ground, unable even to lift themselves up. And Narada said, such a beautiful lady like you, who are these? She said, they are my children. He said, oh, I don't believe it. How can you look 18 and ravishingly beautiful? And these old, almost decaying people, your children? He said, yes, they are my children. One is dharma, one is karma, or something like that, you see. Because with the onset of Kali Yuga, dharma has gone, become corrupt. Karma is not done. So they have attained this paristhiti. So Narada said, what can help? She said, I have tried everything, but Narada, can you do something? Narada said, my dear, I can't do anything, but a prayer to Lord Krishna will help. So she said, Munivar, why don't you pray to Lord Krishna? He said, oh, Lord Krishna is always accessible to me. I know him intimately, he's like my friend. That arrogance cost him Lord Krishna. He went looking for Lord Krishna, he could not find him. He went through so many worlds, could not find him. Finally, he set up a veil. Oh Lord, why are you hiding yourself from me? And Lord Krishna appeared and said, my son, when was I ever away from you? I was always there with you. You never saw me. Because your arrogance about my accessibility drew a parda between you and me. So Narada could not see Lord Krishna. Even though he was there, pratyaksha, as we say, present every second, millisecond of Narada's existence. I have seen this happen to one group of Abhyasis who came from a South Indian center to Shahjahanpur. And the preceptor who was with that group was boasting all the time, you see, that you see how Babuji will receive me. When I come there, he will hug me. He will say, oh, you have arrived. No, he will call his granddaughter and say, give him chai. And like this, all the distance of about 2,000 miles, he was bragging. They arrived in Shahjahanpur. They went and sat in front of Babuji. He never even looked at this chap. 2 days passed, nobody knew him. Third day, Babuji said, who are you? And he fell with a crash. Real happening, eh? He said, who are you? He said, oh Babuji, I am your devoted Abhyasi. He said, everybody says. They are my devoted abhyasis. His ego was... After that, he became a better abhyasi and forgot that he was a preceptor who was like master's representative, things like that. So it is never good to be proud of these things. Never, see, you must be happy to be an abhyasi. You must be grateful that he has accepted you as his abhyasi. You must always offer thanks to the Lord for providing such a master for your assistance. But to be proud, never. To boast about it, never. Babuji once said, this is like the old culture, where a wife never mentions her husband's name. Taboo. You must never mention. She must say, my son's father. Of course, in the modern world, it may mean anybody. But in those days, it only meant the husband. Similarly, Babuji has in his autobiography written only one short sentence about his wife. My wife's name was Bhagavati, and she had a bad temper, something like that. I asked him, when one Mr. P.C. Chaturvedi, who was very close to him, was there, Babuji, could you not have written more about her? He said, I am telling you, what more is there to write? And then Mr. P.C. Chaturvedi butted in and said, even this is too much. It's against the etiquette to name your wife. And Babuji smiled and said, it is a concession to times, so that people don't embarrass me by asking me again and again, what was our Guru Mother's name? You see? So our culture, our standards, our values have changed so drastically, In today's world, if you call your wife, if the wife calls her husband by, a signal, look here. I have known wives in India standing behind the door and saying, son of my father, will you come here, please? Today, if they use this language, they are village people, uncultured. What is this? He is an IIT graduate and she is a PhD in, I don't know what, electrotechnology. So you must say honey or call her by name. And she must call you by name. Madhava, could you come here please? Like that. That is a modern way of, I'm not saying Madhava's wife calls him like that. Thank heavens they are still sane. But this is the modern culture. And I don't know, when I was going first time abroad after joining the mission, my master told me, you go do some work there, you're going to Europe. They're all intellectual people, but they know nothing of God. They will expect you to give talks. You prepare something and go. My father wrote to Babuji and said, you will be happy to know my son is going abroad. Babuji wrote back to him and said, I'm happy to tell you my son Parthasarathi is going abroad. And my father was very angry. He said, even my son he has taken away from me. See? It was possible probably to tell my father, don't say my son. You are a trustee. He is given to you as a trust for you to bring up properly, to educate and then hand over to him. So when I told this to my father, he said, you have also joined forces with him. It took him 3 days to calm himself again. So Babuji had a way of, cutting these threads of relationship, possession, ownership. And it was very helpful. Once you realize, then nothing is really yours. When he was explaining this to some overseas abhyasis, they said, but my house is mine, master, and I have a nice car, and I have a beautiful wife, and 2 kids. He says, I am telling you, even this body is not yours. What happens when you die? He said, well, of course, we leave our families and cars behind. He said, you also leave your body behind. This is the last haven for you. But you don't realize you are a tenant in this body. Therefore, you are so afraid of death. Therefore, you are so body conscious. My body, my health, my this, my that, And instead of doing your meditation, you are doing physical exercise. Dumbbells, barbells, jogging, He said, when you run, there must be a place to which you are running. Otherwise, our bullocks, they grind corn, they produce oil from oil seeds. They go round and round the chakki, going nowhere. And then I told Babuji the story of Alice, in Wonderland. How somebody says that you have to keep running all the time to stay where you are. That's what in modern life we do most of the time. We are running furiously to stay where we are. That is what work is, today's work. I have got to finish this project. Instead of the body running, the mind is racing. From morning 4 a.m. one day to morning 6 a.m. of 6 days later. I have finished my projects. Because instead of paying 15,000, you are paid 15 lakhs. So you take a lot of running to go nowhere. You are thinking a lot to do nothing. And that nothing is also a lot of money. Because the zeros and ones of which your whole project is composed, if the electricity fails before you save it, it's all gone. Isn't it? So I have ones and zeros in my body too. Ones are my egos, zeros are my nothingness, about which I'm so sad. We don't understand that in body language, in the language of health, life itself, without both, you have nothing. You can't have a computer language of only ones, no zeros at all. Similarly, in life, pleasure and pain, health and little ill health, ups and downs. Without this, there is no life. When Babuji gave us the maximum, accept miseries as blessings of God, this was the meaning, that there will be miseries, there will be ecstatic moments. Don't love this and hate that. Love this and hate that, and you will find it becomes a simple line, no ups and downs, no curves, and even equable life of equanimity, serene. But we don't want miseries. No, you can't have a car with one backside, no backside, only the front. You can have nothing without two. Even the thinnest paper will have two sides. To understand that, it is difficult to explain. So Babuji said, accept miseries as blessings. Because nobody thinks of accepting blessings and thanking God. They are our birthright. I deserved it, So this is the tragedy of spirituality, that we don't honor and respect the Master and be grateful to him for all that we have received, irrespective of whether it is good or bad. Babuji said, for everything you have to thank the Master. Somebody said, Babuji, should I thank you if I get very sick? He said, yes, if you live to talk about it, you must thank. Because without his grace, without his mercy, you would not be alive to talk about it. Not disease, but death would have come to you. See? So these are some of the things about which I wanted to speak today. And I think now we will stop, because I am an old man in an old place like Rajagopalachari. Everything is breaking down. Like the buildings, bodies also break down. Buildings can be repaired. I once asked Babuji, how do you transform? He said, I transform cell by cell, even the body. I said, to do this to this building, you will have to pull out a brick, replace a brick. Pull out the next brick, replace a brick. Is it possible? He said, in doing God's work, it is possible. In doing man's work, it is not possible. I asked him, how is it possible in God's work? He said, thought works. I don't have to replace brick by brick. I said, the whole edifice is transformed. It is transformed. And with human beings, thought, what is transmission but thought? The power of transmission is the power of love. When you love somebody, what do? You say, I love her. How do you know? And you say, I love, and it becomes fruitful, accepted, everything. Isn't it? You love your child. How did you love the child? The moment it is born, you love it. You love your wife the moment you marry her. Should you not love the master the moment you become a disciple? If you do, the transformation begins. And it must transform that which the master loves. Because what the master loves must be what the master has created. And what master has created is something new in everything that comes before him, something bearing the aspect of divinity, the glory of divinity itself.